Okay. These were some fantastic episodes. Starting with Swamp and Sensibility. I really didn't expect what we learned in this one at all. Turns out, the village vagrant from back home, One-Eyed Wally, is actually a rich socialite in, like, the fanciest town in Amphibia, I think is what they called it. And, like, the son and heir to a really prestigious and profitable company. It's one of those kinds of situations. And man, I did not see that coming at all. And I have a minor problem with this, because Wally did some really batshit crazy stuff last season. Even some batshit crazy dangerous stuff. And if he's really kind of nuts, right? Like, funny cartoon, we promise we're not making fun of the mentally ill, but this guy's really low on impulse control nuts, which, I mean, I think is fine, and I think they handled it fine with Wally. Then the stuff he did was fine, but there are one or two little things that I think, if he's not as town vagrant nuts as he seemed, become a little more questionable. It's beside the point. It didn't really bother me that much. And he doesn't seem as nuts in this episode, is my point. We find out he has been lying to his dad and saying that he's going off on business trips. And he has described the planters to his family. He's just described them as his servants. And hasn't mentioned Anne. They think she's some kind of animal. Point is, his dad and literally his entire social circle back home are just the most pretentious rich people ever put to fiction. Ever. I kind of hate every single one of them. But they were that in a very funny kind of way. And I liked getting to see Wally's false hoity-toity persona. Thought that was really funny. And I do, on paper, like the kind of plot we got in this episode where one character has to, all of the sudden, without being prepared for it at all, prevent some secret from getting out. So that in and of itself was pretty funny. I didn't like Anne in this episode a lot, though, as she usually does when she makes a mistake, she makes up for it in the end, because when Wally at one point expresses that he just wishes that his dad could see how happy he was back in the valley, Anne decides to take it upon herself to show his dad a bunch of video of his time back in the valley, and gets them fighting, and it leads to a resolution between them, right? Proving that all that Wally actually needed to do was confront his father with the truth. But like I said a second ago, the kind of plot where a character has to scramble to keep a secret from some ancillary characters that the other main characters know, that's a funny one. But what if his secret had been that he was, like, in the closet or something? Would Anne still have taken it upon herself to out him in that case? I don't know, it rubs me the wrong way when characters make that decision for someone else, just in general, right? That said, that is definitively not what happened here, so I'm just going to give Anne the benefit of the doubt that she would have had more tact in a situation like that one. And this was still a really funny episode. Especially the end, when Wally and his dad play a game of beast polo, I think is what they called it. I mean, it was just polo. The pretentiousest of sports. But because it's beast polo, you can play it on any kind of beast. So Anne got to carry Wally around on her shoulders, and they played together, which was kind of fun. And the announcer was just straight up Kermit the Frog.
Hi-ho, Crumpet the Frog here, and welcome to the official Ribbit Family Challenge! Go! William wins!
So that was pretty great in and of itself. I don't know. I think if they had taken this episode in just slightly different directions, I would have absolutely hated it. But as it is, it stands as a pretty solid, pretty funny episode. In fact, there's one line, it's another one of those great deadpan delivery sort of comedy lines. At the dinner where the truth about Wally comes out, it's so perfect. It has to do with Anne asking for clarification regarding something that just happened. I'm not going to spoil it beyond that, in case you guys haven't seen the episode yet. It was just a perfect little line that was just so quintessentially Amphibia. And maybe I could see this episode, events from this episode coming into play again later. Maybe at some point, Wally will have to use his family influences. Like I said, he reconciles with his dad at the end. His dad understands him now, and they understand each other better, which, frankly, came out of nowhere. Like, it was unrealistic in how out of nowhere it came from. But I think that was the point, because that was also pretty funny, too. So I imagine maybe at some point, Wally will use his family's influence to help the Planters in some way, and that's the point of this episode. But even if the events from this episode never come into play again, and every time we see Wally from this point forward, he's just one-eyed Wally, right? This was still a nice, fun, diversionary kind of episode. The second episode, though, out of these two, Wax Museum, is just the best. It's just the best. I feel like I'd be doing a disservice to you by even describing what this episode is about. I will say this much. There is one scene, which I'm going to call it a lore scene for the overarching Disney cartoon verse. Yeah, seriously, that's the kind of episode this is. That was so good, but that I also feel like could sell you in of itself on this episode, so I'm going to put it at the very end of this review, in case you guys want to watch it and know what I'm talking about, and then go watch this episode if you haven't. But I'm going to, like I said, put it at the very end so you guys can not watch it if you don't want to, right? I'll also say this is the episode where all that stuff from the trailer that was obviously a Gravity Falls parody comes from. It's just so good. It's such a good episode. If you are a fan of Gravity Falls, like, there are some legitimately funny moments in here that you wouldn't have to know Gravity Falls to get, but without the knowledge of Gravity Falls, this episode's just kind of run-of-the-mill Amphibia. But as a Gravity Falls fan, I adored this episode so much. It's very, very good. Just go watch it. It's also got, like, an undertone of the old horror movie House of Wax, but it was first and foremost just a straight-up parody of Gravity Falls, and it was excellent. That said, again, not going to say anything more about it. What did you guys think of these episodes? If you have seen them, don't spoil Wax Museum in the comments. I will delete your comment, and I don't delete comments. Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below. Don't spoil Wax Museum, or over in my Discord. Link in the description. Don't spoil Wax Museum. But either way, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later. And that clip is coming in 3, 2, 1.
Looks like we just hit pay dirt, Frog Zeus.
Say, Mr. Pons, do you ever get the feeling that we exist simultaneously in multiple parallel universes, completely unaware of the other's very existence?
You been licking yourself again, Frog Zeus?
Caught me again, Mr. Pons.